Debbie Howard's family never believed that she just packed up and walked away from her home in Live Oak 40 years ago. But that's the story that they were told. Until one day, her niece was asking about the aunt that she had never met. And that led to the reopening of an investigation that authorities now believe was a murder. In the quiet town of Live Oak, where American flags fill the front yards and neighbors know each other well, murder isn't a crime detectives see very often. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. At the Suwannee County Sheriff's Office, investigator Jake Brooks has been working on a case that's 42 years old.
Hey, look, she didn't just vanish. Something happened to her.
The woman was Deborah Howard, called Debbie by her family. It was Debbie's niece that asked investigator Brooks to look into the disappearance of the aunt she had heard about but never met. It was September of 1976. Debbie was living with her boyfriend in Live Oak when they went out one night to Lake City. They were headed to the Rock Lounge, now a vacant, overgrown lot. The next morning, though, Debbie was gone.
The morning she was gone, the boyfriend went up to the mama's workplace and advised her that Debbie had packed all her stuff up in the middle of the night and left, and he didn't know where.
Debbie's sisters, Darlene and Marie, say the relationship was abusive, and Debbie had left before but returned. But they were suspicious of this story. Debbie didn't have a car, so where would she have walked? And how would she have taken her things with her?
That alarm bell went off inside, yeah.
Then she didn't show up for work at a local attorney's office.
The attorney called and wanted to know where she was at. And Mama said, she's not up there at work. He said, no, she hasn't been here for 2 days.
Their suspicions grew. But because Debbie was 20 years old, legally an adult, and the last information given was that she walked away, there wasn't an investigation, not even a missing persons report. The first record investigator Brooks could even find about Debbie Howard was a letter from the sheriff in 1983 declaring Debbie legally dead. But he wanted to give Debbie's sisters some answers, and the more he investigated, the more red flags he found, many surrounding Debbie's boyfriend at the time.
He packed up with his nephew and they left the state and moved out of state. And then, of course, there was never an investigation, so they weren't ever really tracked down.
He says her boyfriend was George Allen McCraney, a man currently serving 2 life sentences for robbery with a deadly weapon. That is just one of several crimes he's been incarcerated for, including just 5 years after Debbie disappeared. He was arrested on a second-degree attempted murder charge and served 15 years. But Brooks says the most telling moment came when he went to see McCraney in prison.
After 40 years, all I did was introduce myself, and I told him I was looking to an old case, and the next words out of his mouth was, I don't know where she's at. And that kind of struck me because we didn't tell him what we were looking into. And I said, well, who are you talking about? And he said, well, who are you talking about? And I said, well, Debbie Howard. And he goes, well, we're on the same page then. And of course, he wanted to speak with his attorney and didn't want to comment.
Investigator Brooks says, sadly, all signs point to Debbie meeting a tragic end.
Her mom and dad, went to their graves not knowing where she was at or what happened to her. And I think that would give the family a lot of healing and closure.
Her sisters and niece say at this point, that's all they want. They don't want criminal charges or trial. They just want to know where their sister's remains are so she can be buried next to her mother and father.
I just wish he would find it in his heart and search his mind and let us know what happened to her so we can bring her home and put her at peace.
And investigator Brooks agrees. After 42 years, he just wants to be able to bring Debbie back to her family.
The ultimate goal of this case is finding Debbie. If I could find out where she's at and return her to the family, I think that would be a win-win for everybody.
If you know anything about the disappearance of Debbie Howard, please contact the Suwannee County Sheriff's Office. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side.
Now, it is important to note that though he is considered a suspect, George Allen McCraney has not been charged with a crime in relation to Debbie's disappearance. We did reach out to him to see if he'd be willing to give us an interview, and we are still awaiting his response.